Hey guys! So I thought it would be a good idea to give you guys some tips on how to stick it out through the beginning stages of dreadlocks. Some of you may have just started your dreads or are still in the baby stages, in the awkward stages, and the frustrating stages, and you just need a little bit of help to keep yourself from taking them out. Pretty much everyone has those days where they just do not like their dreads, like they don't feel pretty, they're frustrated with them, they're all over the place, and they just don't look how you want them to look, and you're not in the right set of mind where you are going to appreciate the difficult parts. A lot of people kind of give up at the beginning and brush them out. It's sad because literally everyone who has dreadlocks has to go through some sort of beginning awkward stage where they don't really like their dreadlocks or they don't really like how their dreadlocks look. Those of us who brush them out before they can mature are missing out on something that could be really awesome. So I figured I'd just give you guys a few of the tips that I used to help me get through a lot of my insecurity. I wouldn't say that my dreads are mature yet, but I personally feel more comfortable with them. I've got 10 tips for you. The first one is to not think about them. I use this one a lot. I didn't like my frizz and I didn't like how they looked. When I first did them, I back combed them. They were all poofy and frizzy and they didn't really look like dreadlocks. They just looked like crazy hair. They looked like loose hair that just was weird looking, and I wasn't into that. It just made me kind of self-conscious. Now, a lot of people are gonna say, don't put your dreads up if they're baby dreads. Don't, wrap them up or anything, because it'll ruin them. And if you think this is ruined, then take their advice. But I don't think any of my dreads have been ruined by that. So do with this info what you will. I did keep my hair up in buns or tied back with the two dreads. I would take these two and I just tie them back like this, and it helped, put them in a hat. I used to bunch them up and put them in a beanie, or you can tie them up with scarves, and then it's out of sight, out of mind. You're not thinking about how hideous they are. It's not to hide yourself from people. It's not to pretend to be something that you're not. It's not because you're ashamed of it. It's because if you look at it too much and you're in the kind of mindset where you're going to say, I look hideous, I need these off my head, then it kind of just takes those feelings away from you. Out of sight, out of mind. You won't feel like you need to brush them out if you just don't think about them. Because if I'm not thinking about my hair and I'm not looking at my hair, then I'm not going to be worried about it. You know what I mean? My second tip would be to stop caring. This is different. What I mean by stop caring is stop caring about what other people are going to think about you. It's hard for us sometimes to know that we are not attractive in the general society's view type of way and still feel good about ourselves. Now, in theory, we all know that we should still feel good about ourselves even if we don't fit society's standards, but sometimes it's just a little bit more difficult. So it helps in the beginning stages if you really focus on the fact that you are still beautiful and your hair is beautiful. It's a beautiful thing, and it's going on this beautiful process that is one of the amazing things that could happen naturally to your body. It's just not important what society thinks your hair looks like, And strangers, it doesn't matter what they think your hair looks like. So yeah, I would go out and my hair would just look like I was gross and had weird hair that didn't look like dreadlocks, it didn't look like loose hair, it just looked like bleh. So what if somebody thought it was ugly? Nobody said anything to me about it, and even if they had, it would have been offensive, obviously. You shouldn't say that to people, but I'd get over it. I don't know. Ain't nobody care. if you don't like my hair. That rhymed, and if it rhymes, it's true. Seriously, it doesn't matter what a stranger thinks about your hair. You, yourself, knows why your hair looks like that. And that's all that matters. Which brings me to tip number 3. Remember why you put them in the first place. This doesn't really work if you just wanted it for the looks. I personally would not suggest dreadlocks to anyone who just wants them for the looks. They will not look like that. They will not look like that for a while. And goodness knows that if you do it just for the looks and you're going for a specific look, you will never get to that specific look. You kind of have to just take it how it is, because our hair all looks different. Like, all of our dreadlock journeys are going to be different, just like all of our journeys in life are different. So your hair is not going to look exactly like this one hair goals, and it's definitely not going to look anywhere close to that immediately. It's going to take a while for it to get anywhere near that. So definitely, if you're just doing it for the looks, like, I'm sorry, you're going to have to find a better reason, or just, I don't even know. I can't help you there. For those of us who do it for a more important reason, like to grow ourselves as people, to teach ourselves some things, spiritual reasons, then it's a lot easier to look back and say, well, I remember why I did it. For me, it had a lot to do with teaching myself to accept myself as a natural person and separate myself from society's beauty norm, whatever. And I really wanted to work towards something. So that in itself means that I can't just quit in the beginning. I made a commitment to my hair and to the journey that I was going to go through. Search in yourself. Think about how you felt when you were starting your dreads. Remember the reasons. And maybe that'll help you. Tip number 4 is to set a goal for yourself. My goal is to have them for 3 years. Just 3 years. My long-term goal is to have them forever. I really want them to be really, really long. My short-term goal is 3 years. To reinforce that, me and my husband actually made a bet. So if I keep them in for 3 years, just 3 years, then I will be able to have whatever pet I want to. I can get a new pet. It doesn't matter how many we already have. I am allowed to get a new pet of whatever kind I want. And that's pretty good incentive. Or you can just set up a reward for yourself at the 3-year mark, or whatever your goal is, and then stick with that. Or even if you don't have a reward at the end, sometimes setting the goal, just that, okay, I'm going to keep them in for 3 years. It's a lot easier when you know when that goal is and you can reach it. With the goal in mind, you at least have something to set your sights on. Tip number 5 would be to look at mature dreads. I do that a lot still, but also keep in mind that your dreads might not look exactly like whoever's on the internet. They'll probably have a lot of different things about them than the ones that you see online. But it is very helpful to see other people's mature dreadlocks and think, they went through what I'm going through right now, and now they look awesome. I think I can handle it. You know what I mean? All those people had to go through this. Obviously, if they can do it, there's no reason why you can't do it. It also helps to watch people's dreadlock journeys. You can go back and see my videos if you want to. It just helps to see other people's awkward stages and how they got through it. It just gives you a little bit of hope. And that also leads me to tip number 6, which is to make friends with people who have dreadlocks. You're not always going to meet people who have dreadlocks that live where you are, but usually you can meet people online. I have a few people that I've met online that have dreadlocks as well. I know a few of them who started their dreadlocks at around the same time as me, and it's helped a lot because you support each other. You all just keep up with each other's journey. You give each other compliments, and it just can really help you because you have that support group that kind of understands what you're going through. So I would definitely suggest making friends with other dreadheads. Tip number 7 would be to document your own journey. It can be a little bit difficult to sit down and take a picture or a video of your progress all the time, but it is worth it because then you can look back on it and see how much you've already progressed, and then it gives you hope for the future. It also helps you to make those dreadlock friends. Tip number 8, I think, is to put meaningful decorations in your dreadlocks. I have a bead in my hair that my husband actually made. We made it together, but he really did the work. It's just simple, but I love it, and it has meaning to me, and I want to keep it there for a long time, so that definitely helps me keep my dreadlocks in, because if I didn't have dreadlocks, I wouldn't really be wearing this in my hair. I also have this wrap that I've had in here for months now. It's really not that deep of a meaning. Sometimes I put a charm on it that represents my sister, so then it does have meaning. Right now I don't have the charm because I washed my hair. The meaning behind this wrap is I want to see how long I can leave it on there. And I want to see how much my hair will grow out. There's already been some growth, so that one has a little bit of meaning somehow. Those are my only decorations I have right now, but if you put meaningful decorations in your dreads, you're less likely to want to remove them. And it gives you a little bit more incentive to keep them in so that you can just keep these precious little memories in your hair. Tip number 9 is to fool yourself into thinking that it is impossible to brush your dreads out. It depends on how well your imagination works, but if you can pretend that it's impossible for you to brush them out or cut them off, if you tell yourself that it is not even an option to take them out, then that might help you. Maybe you are completely opposed to shaving your head, so you know that if you did take your dreads out, you would be brushing them out. Well, then you would have to tell yourself that it's not possible. You can't brush dreads out, which is obviously a lie. You can brush dreads out. I don't want to confuse anybody, but if you tell yourself that it's impossible and it can never happen, then you're not going to do it. It might not work for everybody, but it helped me a little bit. It also might help if you think about how much work and time will come with brushing them out. And if you're lazy and you don't want to do that, then maybe that'll help you. Tip number 10 is to think about how much you will regret brushing your dreads out. You'd be surprised how many people have had multiple sets of dreads because they brushed them out and they miss them so much that they can't live without them. I actually was one of those people. I had dreads once and then I brushed them out and I wanted them back ever since. It's better to just keep the progress that you've already made rather than brushing it out and having to start back over again, because usually people who have dreadlocks can't just have them the one time and then brush them out. And then you look back and you're like, oh, if I hadn't brushed my dreads out, they would be so mature now. And yeah, usually you're probably just going to regret it. So think about that. So yeah, those are my tips on how to make it through the early stages and stick it out. I know it's kind of tough, but you can do it. Everybody's done it that has mature dreadlocks, so why not you?